While I'm recording this video, there's almost 12 hours left until the F1 weekend officially starts in Australia. I feel like all the cards point towards there being an all-timer season for me. In terms of the narratives going into the season, that's truly what makes it exciting, and the performance difference between the cars and the high performance that some of these drivers are going to be at. Firstly, I want to start with the most exciting thing. It's seeing Hamilton at Ferrari. Very excited to see what will happen. People have been posing their theories saying, oh, Hamilton will, edge it in both quali and the race. Leclerc will destroy him or something like that. I think that 2024, especially Hamilton's qualifying performance, was not representative of how good he is overall. His race performances were still splendid. Obviously, in that mid-season, he had an insane run. Races like Britain and Spa, obviously he won. So I think that execution in qualifying won't be an issue for Hamilton. It's just we've seen Leclerc be able to pull out some insane qualifying laps. In terms of execution, Leclerc might have some of those mega pole laps. In consistency, I think they'll be relatively close. Leclerc might have the slight edge because obviously he's in his prime. He is used to Ferrari, the environment. Not to say Hamilton isn't adaptable, he's an insanely adaptable driver. I mean, look at 2007, right? Look at how he's dominated in different eras of cars. I think in the races, that's when it will really be a toss-up, or Hamilton might even have the edge in that. I think nobody can really discount, especially after 2024, how good Leclerc's race pace is, which would actually, the fact that his race pace was arguably better than his quali pace in 2024 will actually be quite a positive for him and Ferrari going into 2025 if they have a championship winning car that he can really execute in the races. So I think that Hamilton at Ferrari, and obviously the implications of his battle with Leclerc, can he win the title, that will have on F1. Secondly, Red Bull, where they will be in terms of comparatively to the other teams. So Verstappen has said in pre-season testing that, post-pre-season testing, that he is not confident that Red Bull will not be the fastest, but he says anything can change, and he's spot on. We know that anything can change from 2024, where Red Bull started off with a dominant car, and then in the mid-season they end up being fourth fastest, and then near the end they arguably have the fastest car in Brazil and in Qatar. So I think that at least my early prediction is before practice, before we've actually seen them with any kind of setup, without any sandbagging or anything like that, Red Bull probably won't be able to fight for the constructors again. Although this could change, at least I think at the start of the season it will be the case. Never count out Verstappen in the title fight. Even if he is going to end up having like a decently chunked gap like he did in 2022 to first, like a 46-point gap. I mean, the guy can turn it around so quickly, like when he locks in, kind of like Hamilton when he locks in is like unstoppable beast. I think Mercedes will be similar pace to Red Bull. They might be faster. I think they're quite an unknown. If Mercedes can get that consistency, they can even fight for the title. But I think they'll be occasionally fighting for wins at the very least. But going on to McLaren, I think McLaren will be the favourites for the constructors and the drivers' title. In 2024, Norris got more criticism than he deserved. I mean, even from me, definitely had the pace across the season for fighting for the title. In terms of deserving the title, in terms of actually winning the title, having that pace is not enough. But I think that we've seen, I mean, towards the end of 2024, like in Abu Dhabi, where he was so comfortable and he executed it brilliantly. I think obviously we've seen in cases like Miami and Singapore. I mean, Singapore, he almost made some major mistakes, but those races showed that when the McLaren is dominant, Norris can dominate. And I think Piastri really needs to find a way to get close to Norris on pace if he wants to be considered World Drivers' Championship caliber. If McLaren do have a dominant car, it will be so interesting to see what Piastri and Norris, their dynamic will be like, who will come out on top. But having that first title fight can really change you mentally, how you approach the races in terms of wheel to wheel, because he's had to do a lot of that, having to deal with Max Verstappen, some of his very aggressive on the edge moves. But in terms of pace, if pace was an issue, then it would be a concern. That's the issue I have with Piastri. If he is not on Norris's level in pace, then it's going to be a big issue for him. To the 4 teams, right? But we could have so many of the midfield teams, maybe backmarker teams, becoming more competitive. We've got seasons like 2012 where 7 different drivers won the first 7 races, I think it was. So in that sense of having an exciting season with a lot of chaos, with a lot of new winners, with a lot of new faces on the podiums or in higher up positions, causing chaos against, established figures and teams. We really want that as F1 fans. The favourites are of course going to be McLaren, but don't obviously ever count out Red Bull and Max Verstappen. It will be interesting to see what Liam Lawson does. It will also be interesting to see what Kimi Antonelli does. But I think any of these 4 teams can produce a title winner. I think the constructors will probably go either to McLaren or Ferrari. From the sentiment that I'm seeing, it could be sort of McLaren and Ferrari battling it out with Merc just behind and Red Bull like around that level. But Merc do seem confident after pre-season. We can't really judge anything on sentiment right now. We have to just see what the cars are like when they go out on track. But let's hope that it's an exciting season. Thank you for watching and hopefully see you after the weekend.